our live stream today. Welcome to the stream. We are here today on my channel and Laci's and Amber's as well, all doing this together. You guys have seen in the past. So a lot of you know me. I'm Jacob from Jacob's Life in Vegas, and we're going to be talking real estate stuff today because election is over. So one big thing people are waiting for. So I'm joined by the two lovely ladies everyone knows. Laci, say hi.
Hey there. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming on with us.
All right. Amber, say hi.
Hi, guys.
All right. So if you guys don't know these two, but you probably do by now, Laci is a realtor here in Las Vegas. Amber is a mortgage loan officer. They've both been doing this for years, and they've lived here longer than I have. So that's why I like to have them on here, because we all share this together to try to help people when it comes to understanding the real estate market here in Southern Nevada. So they're ready.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited. We always have so much fun when we get exposure to your audience because they have some interesting questions typically, and we appreciate it. So wanted to just say hi to everybody wherever you might be joining us from. We do this all the time. Amber and I do these live streams once a week, sometimes twice a week, and we like to talk about anything and everything related to moving to Vegas, living in Vegas, and all the fun things that come along with it. So stick around. If you have questions, we like to tell you from the beginning, this is for you. Yes, we're going to talk about what's going on in the industry. Yes, we're going to talk about, some of the questions that Jacob might have for us. But if you have questions, drop it like it's hot in the comment box below. We really want to hear from you today while we're live and be able to answer some of them. We'd love to just say hi. So Amber and I don't know, we've been doing this for a minute, so we're going to take it away if that's okay with you, Jacob, but jump in as you need to.
Hey, I'll contribute where I can.
All right. So Amber, I know every time we do these live streams, you and I get all worked up when there's a Fed meeting. And I know there was a Fed meeting recently. Did you have a chance to watch it and take a look at it?
I did, but you know what? The Fed meetings seem to be overshadowed by the election.
Isn't that interesting? Everything seems to have been overshadowed. The world was overshadowed by this election. It has been interesting. So was anything interesting out of the Fed meeting that you think will affect rates as far as mortgage rates go throughout the rest of the year?
Well, it was definitely, so the rates definitely did better that day. So over the last probably 6 weeks since the Fed last spoke, we've seen the rates continually climb. Like they were getting crazy again. But I mean, there was a lot of anxiety in the country and stuff like that. So all that was kind of feeding into it, which direction we were going to go and stuff like that. And then when the Fed meeting happened, so they lowered the rate 0.25%. But I just want to remind everybody, when they lower the rates, that's short-term rates. So that's like credit cards, car loans, like short-term loans. Mortgages are long-term loans. What they say matters, and how it affects the stock market matters, and the bond market and stuff like that. So the last time that they lowered rates by 0.5%, we actually saw rates climb after that. And it didn't make sense. But what they said is they're going to lower rates 0.5%, but they're going to pull back on their security holdings. And they also changed their dot plot map to show that they were going to have less rate cuts this year than what the markets had already predicted. So like market,
Can you say dot plot map like 6 times in a row, please? Like dot plot map. Sorry, I had to. Sorry.
Yeah, no, true. So what the markets predict is more so where our rates go. And that's more like on what they say versus what they do. Except for when they back on security holdings, then that affects us right there.
Now, typically, Amber, you've been doing this. Now, I'm not trying to age you. Don't let me age you, because that's my job here. You are the youngest, most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. With that said, though, you've been doing this for a few years, and you've been through a few election cycles when it comes to rates and just the housing market. I have as well, but between you and I, this has been a very different type of election year than what we're used to. You and I have no problem saying out loud what we think is going to happen. We do have crystal balls. They get a little foggy sometimes, but we do have crystal balls about the market specifically. And we've been pretty spot on for the last, I'd say, what have we been doing this 7 years together now, 8 years, something like that. We've been pretty spot on. This year, we got caught with our pants down a little bit, kind of trying to figure it out as we were going. And it has been an up and down roller coaster. What are your thoughts just really specifically on the election component of this year and how you think it's really leaned into the zaniness of our world?
So when I was watching the rates kind of climb a couple weeks before the election, I was like, this reminds me of 2016. Like it was almost the exact same, like how the news was, like the polling was coming out, how it did then. And I'm like, So after 16 happened, it took a couple months for the rates to calm down. Like it took a couple months for everything to hit, and that kind of thing. We didn't have the inflation problems and the Fed, back then I didn't even watch the Fed meetings. Right now I like get my popcorn out and I pull aside an hour so I can make sure I hear every word of them. So
right.
So like it did kind of remind me of what it did in 2016 before it was happening. But I mean, and it did take a little bit to calm down after that. But like this time we saw it start calming down like the next day because the Feds were speaking. So
got it. Jacob, what are your thoughts just related to just in general? I know you're not in the market and you don't do this for a living, but you are really smart, period. Let me just leave that there, period. And you really are. You're so fun to listen to because you have such a data-driven brain. How's your brain and feeling that been this year just about all the crazy stuff with the election in general in life and just how you're seeing Las Vegas tourism and stuff?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that you're taught, like you and I were talking about earlier, about seeing some of the median home prices from month to month, the spikes, the ups and downs and stuff that were happening, and how people kind of like get freaked out by it. So, I mean, it's certainly easy to get freaked out by all the noise you hear on TV and social media and things like that. But I mean, I look at it, and part of me is thinking like, well, in election years, like that's part of what happens. People want to see that with that level of uncertainty in the market, people want to see who's going to win. And regardless of who wins, at least people feel like they have a better idea of what's going to happen going forward with the economy or what they can expect for like end of the year tax planning, any potential tax increases they're looking at or changes, or just with the market in general. So, I mean, it has been kind of a wild year. I mean, for the real estate market, also, the tourism side here in Vegas, 3 months in a row, the casino revenue on the Strip has been down from what it was a year ago. Yeah. It's been down 3 months in a row. Just on the Strip, though. Downtown's been different. Boulder Highway's been different. It's only on the Strip. It's kind of interesting to see. So, so I look at that as which does impact Las Vegas and our local market for sure. So now I'm curious about, this is what was going through my head as you were talking, was one thing that's unique about Vegas real estate is how, because now it's November and it's, cold by Vegas standards.
Hey, I'm wearing a jacket. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, it's cold where, lots of places and markets around the country, when you're in Wisconsin and you're knee deep in snow, people aren't usually out buying houses as much during this time. But between the interest rates and between, people still do a lot of buying here in November, December, January, because it's not that bad. I'm curious. The weather's not that bad. So I was kind of curious how Amber thought the rates over the next coming months would affect people trying to buy in the next few months, because our market, as far as sales, does not slow down a whole lot during the wintertime like other parts of the country.
I honestly haven't seen it slow down. Like some of me has expected it, but then like it could, just because when you're looking at the inventory and stuff like that, and there's so many people moving into Vegas, when January hits, the market, like last year, went crazy in January. So like when January hits, so I've been expecting it to like slow, but I haven't seen it do it. I haven't seen a slowdown at all, other than like the week of the election. You could tell people were feeling anxiety, but then this week it feels like it picked back up again.
Yeah, we've seen just from so Amber, just to clarify for everybody watching, Amber does kind of the loan side, the numbers side. She's the smart one, and I get to do the fun stuff over here. I'm smart too, but I get to do fun stuff. So we get to actually be out on the boots on the ground with clients, looking at houses and putting in offers and negotiating. And typically Amber and I talk about how this is the juicy, crunchy time of year to get a good deal, because most of the time the builders that are building new homes in town are trying to close out their year on a high, and they're trying to get rid of any dead inventory or whatever might be sitting. This last year has been interesting because a lot of the builders, anticipating the craziness of the election, all the things that are happening with the Fed, they've been actually front loading a lot of their inventory and getting rid of a lot of standing inventory up front, just knowing it was possibly going to slow down, or we weren't really sure what was going to happen with the election. And so we don't have as many new homes on the market that we usually do at this time of year. So, and it has slowed down a little for listings that aren't in perfect shape and ready to go. People are getting a little bit more choosy and picky, but steady streams of phone calls coming our way, and definitely now is the time to get a deal if you're going to get a deal at all, and everybody wants a deal. This is the time when it's cold other places. This is when it slows down everywhere else. So this is where you can come here and kind of realize that everybody thinks it's going to be bad weather or whatever. Not in shopping mode here either, but this is a good time to do it.
Yeah. And even though Vegas doesn't always like totally slow down because, like you said, the weather and stuff. It does other places in the country, and the rates are more focused on the whole of the country. So typically when you get closer to like the holiday season, you do see the rates drop down. And that's why it becomes so juicy crunchy, because you can kind of get those concessions. Plus you get a decent rate compared to where the rates have been.
Yeah, if you're cool, I would love to jump in and talk about pricing too, because I think pricing is something everyone is watching all over them. Everyone thinks they're watching Zillow and they think they're seeing price reductions and the prices are crashing, and everybody's waiting for a crash, which we don't want to crash, guys. That's not good for the economy. We don't want to crash. We would love for it to be steady, but we don't need to crash. But I was actually going to throw some information up on the screen if you guys are cool with it. Let me see if I can find what I was doing. So, we typically in these monthly updates that we give, we try to look at a few different things. We look at inventory, we look at rates, as you know, they change every day, so we can't stick to any one rate, but we look at the trends. And then we look at like the median house prices and the median condo prices. So over this last year, I got a little jolted a few months ago because we went from like one price up 20,000 in price point in 1 month, which is scary, right? That's not what we want to see here. That makes it a very volatile market. It makes it hard to buy. It makes people who are in the lower tier of purchasing not be able to purchase. It's a scary thing. But then what's crazy is I thought it was going to stay up, but it's going to zigzag. Every month it's been up, down, up, down, up, down. So I'll show you a reference to that. I'm going to show you August real quick. So August 2024. If you're looking at this housing snapshot, you can see the blue section is single family units. The gold section is condos and townhomes. It says as of August, our median home price was $520, and then $299, 300,000 ish for condos and townhomes. Now we have a tendency to have a lot more inventory available of condos and townhomes in terms of like competition. So for listings, those will sit a little longer. Houses, if they're in really good shape, go quickly. And so for those of you that are watching, this is August again. I'm going to show you last month in just a second. For those of you who are watching like Zillow, Redfin, and you think you're seeing the market crash or the prices drop, it may be happening, but a lot of times it's happening because clients who are listing their homes are a little greedy and they're trying to get top dollar for what was top dollar last year, but not do any renovations. Or they don't have a realtor that represents them enough to tell them kind of what's what. But then they'll have to drop the price and eat away at that what that looks like. So this is August, just giving you this snapshot. So as of this month, if I add October to the stage here, we're back down to $499, and we're still steady, actually up a little bit for the condos. Sorry, I lost my brain there. So what's crazy is we've hovered between 485, 490, and 520 every other month. It jumps up and down and up and down and up and down. And for to be very real, want to tell you that tells me that's the volatility of everybody's mindset this last year. What are your guys' thoughts?
The one, what month was it when it was 520? Was that August?
It was August. Yeah, this is 520. It was August. Yeah.
That's when the rates started to dip. So that's kind of fun. That's kind of weird. It's kind of like a correlation there. When the rates start to dip, people are out more and more, and it only dipped like 0.5%.
And if you pay attention to the left, the left column is the actual sold price. And the middle column is where people's brains go. So you can see the volatility of people who want to sell their home. The listed price is 520, but we didn't land on a final sales price of 520. It was at 476. Now, if we pop over to October, the sales price is not dropping, guys. It's the listing prices that are coming down. It's the people who are either getting greedy or getting realistic every other month. Boop, boop,
okay,
boop, boop,
so we've hit a reality now.
Yeah, but if you look below there, the condos, see that there's a little bit of people are kind of shifting their mindset. Maybe investors are coming in town. I've seen a lot of investors start to look at Vegas. And that's kind of what we're seeing is, look, they're listing at 301, but they're landing higher than the listing price on a lot of the condos and townhomes. And again, that's October. Let me just go back to August to show you the difference. So the left-hand column is the actual sales price. The middle column is where our mental state is that we think we should be selling at. So it's very interesting to see the changes. What are your thoughts, Jacob?
Man, I mean, to me, it's not super surprising that, because Vegas is such a hot market it's been a hot market for a long time, that especially a few years ago, people were getting real top dollar for their homes. So seeing being a little overly optimistic is not too surprising to me. When it comes to people trying to sell homes. So no, I'm not.
Listing price is really indicative of it's really Fed meeting, it's election, it's the fact that we know people want to move here, right? That there is a frenzy of people wanting to move here. Ever since COVID, when you could choose most people could choose to work from home or work remotely, a lot of people are choosing to take advantage of the tax benefits here and all those other things. But I just have found it so interesting as almost just like an experiment to watch the mentality of people who are trying to time the market, if you will, make the decision and then have to recorrect and autocorrect. But to watch that sales price stay very steady, 470, 475, 476. So just keeping that in mind, if you're looking at moving to Las Vegas, first of all, there's a number scrolling on the bottom of the screen. If you're interested, there's also a link in the bio. Let us know. We'd be happy to help you. We would love to chat with you because we like talking to people, whether they're moving now or 10 years from now, because we know this stuff happens all the time. And so many of us listening to the rhetoric on TV and the news get tunnel vision thinking that we can time the market. If you're trying to time the market, you're doing it wrong. You should tap into people who know what they're doing and who can give you a little more of a long-term view. So.
Yeah. And speaking of which, this is why I like to mention every so often when people ask about crash, or you mentioned crash or whatever it is. Laci, you and I did a live stream like 2 years ago where people were asking, hey, when's the crash going to happen? Well, first of all, people usually don't define crash. They don't even, it's a very vague concept. And so they usually don't give a definition. But I usually like to go, I looked this up years ago, the numbers of how long it took for Las Vegas when it was the peak of the boom to go all the way down to hit from that peak to the bottom during the recession. And that took 5.5 years. So the peak was like June 2006. Median home price was $315, $319, something like that. Then it was December 2011, and they went down to, I think, 112, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So, I mean, even that big recession we had, it took 5.5 years to go from the top all the way to the bottom. So the home prices are not going to drop the median home price is not going to drop $100,000 in a month, guys. That's not going to happen. So
and it's hard to even expect it to drop at all when we've added 1 million new residents in the last 8.5, 9 years in Las Vegas. So when that many people are flooding to our city, 1 million residents. Let me just say that again. That's the statistic that I'm still kind of get a little nauseous over a little bit sometimes, because I'm just like, damn, that's a lot of people. But that just showcases that we still have a very high probability of not dipping when everybody else does dip. Frankly, because people want to live here and there's a lot of opportunity that's really happening here, more so than ever before. So it's just very interesting to see that things have still remained steady, popped up a little bit when money was free to borrow a couple years ago, and then came back down to earth. But the crash that everyone's waiting for isn't happening. So if you are thinking about looking at Vegas, we've got a lot of development coming in the next 2 to 5 years. Sony Movie Studios is building a thing in a studio in Summerlin. Universal Studios is building that. I mean, there's, Jacob, you do these great updates on your channel, so what's coming to Vegas. If you're not watching those, you should. So with all that coming, people come with that, and so prices will start to creep up once things level off from this crazy year that we've been through just now. So
yeah, and then
should we go ahead? Sorry.
One other thing too to keep in perspective for you guys, I'm going to talk about how the winter time doesn't slow down here that much for people looking to buy. And Laci mentioning the population continuing to grow, almost 1 million people in 8.5 or 10 years, whatever it's been, somewhere in that range. For those of you that are on the East Coast or you're international watching and looking to either buy or invest, Las Vegas is about a 4-hour drive, maybe even a little less from Los Angeles. So Los Angeles is the second biggest city in the country. It's 4 million people. And LA County is 10 million people. And that's the number one county that feeds into people moving here. So that's part of it too. If you're on the East Coast and you don't know the geography, or if you're in another country, we are close to the second biggest city in the country. So that's one factor too, why prices don't oftentimes just tank here. At least they haven't since the recession, because there's 10 million people who live within 3 to 4 hours of here that are moving here every month. There's a few thousand moving here.
I mean, the income tax, no state income tax, and the really, really low property taxes are two very big incentives. But then there's also business propositions from the city, North Las Vegas, Henderson, as well as Las Vegas, that are bringing major industries here. So we're no longer going to be, in the next 5 years or so, we are going to always be entertainment capital, but entertainment is not going to be our only main industry. I really think it's leveling us out a little bit, which is making us more like a real boy, like a real city. She's growing up and she's ready to serve it up. You guys want to answer some questions from the audience? I'm excited. There's been quite a few here.
To be honest with you, it feels really good to be a real city, like being born and raised here. So I've watched it go from like 200,000 people to like what it is right now. We begged for attention for so long.
I know,
and now
man.
it feels good. Yeah.
I was like, there was a little bit of traffic the other day, and I was like, this is my fault. This is my fault. I gotta stop talking about last night. So Christopher Battle, I mean, not that I'm totally responsible, but I just am like, if I've been screaming since I was 9 years old on the rooftops for people to move here, and it's now people are listening. Christopher says, is Henderson included in your sales figures? Yes. Henderson, North Las Vegas, and Las Vegas are included in all of those numbers. It's the Las Vegas metropolis. I guess metropolitan area. What's the right terminology for that? I don't know. Good question, though. Good question. DLVTT says, let's see. No, he's asking, let's see. Do you think that Nevada, hey, DLVTT, he's always on our lives. Now that Nevada has become a red state, we're always going to be, I think we're purple still. This election, we were definitely red, but we'll see what happens. It says, will it have any effect on the move of Sony and Warner Brothers studios and thus affect in housing sales? I'm going to answer my thoughts. You guys should as well. I don't think so. Again, Vegas has always been a swing state. We've gone blue, we've gone red, we've gone blue. We've done a little bit of the bounce back and forth. I think we're going to remain purple for a little while. And honestly, at the end of the day, those companies have already made those investments and confirmed that they're moving forward. So I don't think that anything's going to change it. What do you guys think?
I can't see why anything would change. I mean, like until Vegas started getting like over 1.5 million people, it was always a red state before that. And then you get a lot of, then we became purple for a long time. So I think that monies were like, I don't think that would change anything about them moving into town. But what do you think, Jacob?
I mean, especially for like the Sony and these studios moving here, that process is already in place. So, an election that just ended, within the last 7 days is not going to change that. They're not going to stop an entire business process they've been working on for years or months just because of that. But I mean, Nevada it's fine. I just looked right now. It's still, they haven't officially called it, but it's probably going to wind up being Republican this presidential election. But what's interesting about Nevada, we had 20 years from 2000 to 2020 where we had a Republican governor, but the state went Democrat for the presidential election. So Nevada's been a swing state for decades. In this, and our state government has flip-flopped over the years between being, usually it's split. Usually there's a split between Democrat and Republican control. There's been a couple times one party's controlled all of it, but no, I don't think that's going to have a major impact. The process is already in place. Certain things here in Nevada, regardless of politics, like, people worry about a state income tax coming here. Not anytime soon. that'd be political suicide.
Wouldn't they have to change the Constitution of Nevada for there to be a state income tax?
They would.
I think so.
So they'd have to collect enough ballot signatures to even get it on the ballot. Which probably wouldn't happen. Then it would have to be voted on and passed by the public 2 election cycles in a row. So good luck with that one.
Good luck with that one. Yeah. I did want to say too, and then I'm going to jump to another question. Great question, by the way. Thank you, DLVTT, as always, for being such a good audience member. But the one thing we need to keep in mind, and maybe we can all just take a lesson from this, just us globally, is these big organizations like Warner Brothers and Sony. I try to blend those two together. Sony and Warner Brothers and any of these other big companies don't make quick decisions based off of one experience happening in the world. They are looking at long-term plans. They have a lot of big data warehouses that are giving them demographic information that are helping them make decisions. So if you guys are looking at moving or looking at investing, take a page out of their book and realize, like, if they're putting their money in a place that's growing like Las Vegas is or any other city in the country, there's a reason behind it and there's data to support that. They're not going to, they've got shareholders to keep happy. So something to keep in mind. This is another question, Tony Ayala from, I think this is from your ex account, Jacob. How have the new home builders responded to the interest rates and the days on market with their new inventory? Good question. Amber, do you work with a lot of the new builders still? I know that you do a lot of loans for some of them because they can't figure it out all the time. So they bring you in to do their loans because Amber's the best. By the way, let me just mention, Amber's ranked number 166 in the nation for lenders, and we only work with the best. So FYI, she's really good at what she does. What do you think, Amber?
Well, I mean, the builders have all responded. I mean, what they're doing is they're buying the rates down further. So whatever the rate hits that day, they're going to put money into what's called a forward commitment, and they're going to buy it down before somebody even buys that house. So when you go to a builder's office, I can't think of a lot of them that aren't doing the buy downs, unless you're going to build something from scratch, but they're standing inventory. They're putting them on those forward commitments. So when you go in there to buy them, they're advertising a rate. Here's the rate that you get today with this particular house, because when the market goes higher, they're just going to pay more to buy it down, is what the builders do.
And what, unfortunately, that's great. That's sexy as heck when you're walking in going, you're going to give me a 4.99 or 5.25 rate when everybody else is paying whatever it is, right? That's amazing. That's an awesome thing to take advantage of. But keep in mind, I'm hoping that you're planning to stay in that house for at least 3 to 5 years, because they're building that into the price of the home. Mm-hmm. You're still paying for it. It's just a matter of when you're paying for it. And so the equity of the home, has to overcome that before you're going to be able to make money on it and sell whenever that does happen. But yeah, it's fun to take advantage of it. And as far as inventory goes, they've really kind of done so much of this that they are not with as much inventory as they normally are at the end of the year, at least from my experience, which is giving resale homes a really good jump and a good opportunity to be seen, which is nice. They've given them a run for their money for sure this year so far.
They have, yeah, for sure.
One of the other reasons that we have a lot of continued growth in Las Vegas and our price point stays kind of steady, again, the listing price is the one that jumps. The one that's really the sold price, the final negotiated prices are the ones that are staying pretty steady, is because our inventory has been pretty much below what it should be, market standard, if you will, or market desirability for like years. So when we have like less than 2 months worth of inventory on the market for resale homes, what that means is it's 2 months. If we'd have no new listings in 2 months, boom, all of those homes are gone, and then there's nothing else to buy. Typically, we want a healthy space would be between 4 to 6 months, would be where everybody can kind of take their time and sleep on it and get a little bit of a deal, and you can still get your house sold for the value that it's worth and all these things. But with low inventory, that's continuing to keep those prices steady because there's not a lot of options to go up against.
Just to add to that, like when you guys were talking about the crash, right? So I had to live in this industry through 2006 to 2011. So I can tell you whatever year felt like. It wasn't pretty. But like when we're looking at the inventory, if you add up single family condos, you're about like 7,000 some odd, right? Between the two of them. When the crash happened, we had 20 to 25,000 houses on the market. So inventory had a lot to do with that. And the fact that the lending side of things, the rules that we had to change to be able to, like, the rules that we have to abide by on the lending side right now are pretty hefty, because they've made them to where that can't happen again, in the industry. And if it does, it's going to change to a different way. But the inventory had everything to do with that time period.
Yep, you're right. The inventory is such a big component that nobody talks about, or not everybody talks about, but nobody really quite understands. So again, if you're thinking about moving or investing in Vegas, we're so lucky, Jacob, that you give us this platform to speak to your audience, and that you're so data driven and so smart the way that you think about things. We try to do things the same. We want to be here for you. So if there is even a moment of, hey, maybe that would be a good place for us to move, or maybe to invest or whatever, we don't care if you're buying now. Like, just click the link in the description, or just text that phone number. We would love to set up a call. There's no pressure. We don't pressure anybody. When it's right for you, it's right for you. But we like being a resource because there's a lot of bad information out there, and we really want to make sure that you guys are speaking to people who genuinely care. Like, I want happy people moving to my city. I don't know about you guys, but I want people who are excited about their decision, and we want to make sure you get the right info. We'd love to help you. So again, small plug, but it's really just for you. It's a plug for you, not for us.
Well, thanks. We appreciate it. And speaking of info, looks like we have a couple people in the chat I've seen who one asked about, says he's a veteran and wants to try to find a home in a nice area that's non-HOA. It looks like Larry's asking about the VA loan. So this is kind of that veteran VA loan is up Amber's alley. And then what do you think? A non-HOA community is probably more up Laci's alley.
Yeah, I'll let Amber take this one. So we're going to do VA. Here we go. What's it like for VA loans, Amber?
Oh, I love VA loans. They're my favorite. So, my lights just turned off in here. I just got like really romantic at the right time.
You gotta tell them all where you were. In case they don't know, Amber, you gotta tell them where you were born at.
I was actually born on Nellis Air Force Base Hospital. So my dad, what brought us here was the military. So I'm from a military family. And then he left the military when we were in Las Vegas, and we've been here the rest of my life. So
awesome.
So for VA loans, like I do spend a lot of time fighting for my veterans, because there's some things that, so the VA loans are very good. The rates are lower, and there's no mortgage insurance on it. You have a VA funding fee if you don't have any disability, but if you have VA disability, that gets waived. Clark County is very nice to the veterans too. So if you have VA disability, after you close on a house, you can take that disability paperwork with proof that you own the house into the assessor's office to get your taxes reduced on it. So depending on the, like the percentage of disability you have. So VA loans are really good. The thing that I love about VA loans is that they're very outside the box. So you have your guidelines, but if you've had anything in your life that happened because of a military, like something related to military, and it caused your credit to go bad or something to go bad, you can go in for exceptions on those. So we can letter of explanation what happened to be able to get exceptions. It's unlike any other loan program. They have more of a heart than like conventional does or FHA does.
Yeah, it's awesome. You do so many good things for the community, the veteran community, and it is really cool to see how you have managed to find all the ways around some of the stuff that happens that other lenders might say, well, we can't fix it. We don't know. You're really, really a dog with a bone, I like to say, a cute dog at that. Thank you for that. And to answer your question about HOAs, there's actually a couple of questions about HOAs. Jacob, before I answer it, are you able to click on the comment in front of you and click show? Because if so, if there's any you want us to answer, can you do that, or is it just me?
I don't even know if my comment section's updating. It looks like it froze.
Okay. Oh, okay. No worries. I'll answer the question about HOAs. So Vegas is actually made up of it's actually increasing. I think we're probably between 84 to 88% HOA community. I know a lot of people who move here from California or other states that are have a really yucky time with HOAs, get really freaked out about that. You're most likely going to build or buy a home in an HOA community. Most likely, there are areas that are non-HOA, and we can certainly focus on those, but it really limits your options and the areas of town. With that being said, our HOAs are not typically very crazy and strict and up your butt. Now, every HOA is different, and we can't make guarantees, but I've just lived here for 30 something years, 34 years now. And I've been in this business for almost 9. And I've just really seen people come from like a California or wherever and be scared to death and ease their fears. And then they get into it and they call me a year later and go, oh, you're right. This isn't what we thought it was. This is way chiller, and people leave each other alone for the most part. And then this question from Calvin kind of piggybacks on that, saying, do Vegas HOAs include internet and cable and things like that? They actually don't. Most of them do not. Most of the time, HOAs are going to only include, the management fees for the area. If you have a guard or something, or if you have amenities like a pool, it will be covering the gate, the pool, things like that. Maybe maintenance in the front yard sometimes. And then every now and then, if it's a condo community or a townhome community, it may include your sewer and your water fees. But that's the limit that I've seen, at least here in Nevada. But great question. And I actually just found
some of the high rises include the TV and internet.
Oh, that's cool.
Some of the newer communities include the TV and internet too. So I think Cox is working with communities right now.
Cox is trying to cover their belts a little bit.
They're trying to take over the valley with some of those, but yeah.
I just know because that Independence video I did.
Yeah, that's true.
It was in one of the benefits.
This is a really great question from Jason, again, from X on your account, Jacob. We bought a house in North Summerlin. Woo, woo. Nice job, Jason. House was built in 96, mostly original. Considering doing some modernization, renovation to bring it up to a more modern state. Is that a good idea or bad idea? How much should we spend? Kitchen, 3 bedrooms, and floors throughout. Thanks. Great question. I can tell you right now, we are in the process of filming 2 home renovations from beginning to end to show the process. So those are coming for my channel. And I can just tell you, a lot of people think you have to do a whole house renovation to make it perfect and ready to go to list, or even just to make it, increase the value. The biggest things that we can tell you that you should be doing to add to value is kitchen, always kitchen, usually all the bathrooms, and flooring and paint. Like but you don't have to do it all. Kitchen is really the main one, and that's going to be the most expensive. But kitchens and bathrooms are, I think, are the most bang for your buck when it comes to getting your money back. Landscaping helps a little bit, but those are two things that, for whatever reason, the appraisers who we talk to, we've had actually interviews with appraisers on our channel quite a bit, and that's the consistent messages: kitchen and bathrooms. What about you, Amber? Have you seen anything come through from like some of the appraisals that are coming in? Have you seen any funkiness with that, with the upgrades and stuff?
Well, I know when the appraisers are appraising like houses that are a little bit aged, the difference in the comps that they pull for like houses that are not renovated and houses that are renovated in some communities are super high. So like that's how flippers can go in and buy a house that's in an area that's not renovated, buy it for cheaper, and then flip it for a lot higher once they do some renovations in it. So it depends on the area. I've seen some ones and I'm like, dang, I wish I would have thought about that when I saw the appraisal come through.
Yeah, you don't have to spend a fortune to elevate the value of your home. Another thing that can add immediate value, which can be a little pricey, solar has been something that I love and hate. It's like this love-hate thing with the solar. If you lease solar, it does not add value to your home until it's completely paid off. If you purchase and pay for it fully and have it paid off, it immediately adds the same amount of value dollar for dollar to your home. So, and it also saves you money. A lot of times it's going to take you about 10 years to equalize the payments of that. So always think through that and run the numbers. But there are some other things you can do as well. But honestly, kitchen and bathrooms is the thing, and flooring is usually the three things that I would say focus on. If you need any advice on who to use, please let us know. You can reach out via text and we can give you some of our awesome vendors that we work with for sure. All right. What else we got here? What else? All right. I'm just looking to see, and Jason says, I agreed. Our HOA is helpful versus harmful. See, guys, that's a backup on what we said. That's good to know. Awesome.
I've only heard of one person so far in Las Vegas who said they didn't like their HOA. And I've been here 12 years next month. So I've only had one so far who has like those classic HOA stories.
Has it really been 12 years, Jacob? Have I really known you that freaking long? I bet you, what, a year after you moved here?
A year. I started YouTube a year and a half after I moved here, so probably a few months after that. It's not a year and 9 months or something like that.
See, people think that we just like met to do YouTube together. 2014. We've known each other for like 10 freaking years, you guys. This is crazy.
Yeah, I love it. Over 10 now, so that's funny. Some people were asking this. This is kind of a question I was going to ask anyway about the growing areas of the Vegas Valley. But some people were asking about, I saw in there about Northwest and Southwest, which is like what we were talking about. So, yeah. I mean, the area is always growing, but, you know, Laci, where's like the most you've seen lately?
Yeah, it's so interesting to watch. It's been kind of an exciting time over the last 9, 10, 12 years to just see how what I used to think was so far away is now sort of the middle of town. It's just so weird to see this. I always say that we're like a glass of spilled milk. Someone spilled milk and like it's just spreading in certain areas. And where we're seeing the most growth in Las Vegas is Northwest and Southwest part of town. I've got on my channel a Northwest versus Southwest video that can kind of give you a rundown and show you what those areas are specifically. They're beautiful. You know, Northwest and Southwest are they're equally as beneficial and beautiful and amenity filled as every other area of town. Everyone gets their brain stuck on Summerlin and Henderson, mainly because Summerlin and Henderson are the most well marketed areas of town. They're the ones that, you know, Summerlin is just an area. It's just a master plan community, but it was developed by Southern California developers and they've got a marketing budget like no other. Let's just put it out there. Henderson has been really wonderful. It's its own city, which is different. And it's got a lot of really great press going on, which they're doing a good job with, about how safe it is and how there's just different amenities over there as well. So those two areas are spectacular, but 1 to 5 to 8 minutes from both of those areas, you could buy a home that's maybe a little bit less expensive and still have some of the great experiences. Most of those areas are going to lend you to the Northwest and Southwest parts of town. And what I like in those areas is that they're like Northwest, for instance, is up towards where you're leaving town to go to like Mount Charleston. So I don't know if you guys know this, but if you go to Mount Charleston, it's like 30 degrees cooler year round. So if you hate the heat, you can go and take a little drive, 30 minutes, 45-minute drive, and you are 30 degrees cooler and you can kind of escape it. And so a lot of people are kind of right at the base of that lift up to go to the mountain. And it's still 22 minutes from the strip. So a lot of people assume that these areas are super far away. And I get people who call me and say, I don't want to drive more than 45 minutes. I don't want to drive more than this. And I'm like, if you drive 45 minutes, you're going from one end of town to the other. Like that's almost the span. Now with traffic increasing, it's a little different now, but It's still, so Northwest I like because you get really wide ranging views, mountain views. Of course, you're right at the base of Mount Charleston. A little bit more for your money when it comes to what you're spending. And there are some areas up there that have a little bit more rural properties, like horse properties, and some properties that you can buy an acre or a half an acre, things like that. Southwest is a little different. Southwest is more of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different communities that are master planned by different builders, kind of all put next to each other, along with Southern Highlands. But those are the two main growing areas. One that you should keep an eye on, and that you should watch my channel for, because I'm going to be doing a series of videos about it, is North Las Vegas. North Las Vegas has had a bad rep for a lot of reasons over the years, and I'm hoping to see that evolve and change, because they've put a lot of money and time and effort into making it a really cool place to live with development. And from what I've heard, they are the only area in town that has non-BLM land still available to build on. And there's a lot of business incentive for major Fortune 500 companies to come in and build business set up there. So we've got like Moen Faucets, Crocs just moved out there. There's an Amazon Prime warehouse or Amazon warehouse. There's a lot of really big companies moving to North Las Vegas, which is kind of making it more viable. And they've done a lot from a safety perspective. So out of the right now, north, south, north, and southwest, but mark my words, North Las Vegas is going to be the big game changer in the next 3 to 5 years.
I believe it.
Take that and chew on it. How do you like me now?
I honestly don't know why they have such a bad rap. You know, like when you said they have a bad rap, I'm like, I remember back in the day when North Las Vegas was like Civic Center, you know, and that like anything that surrounded there. I remember it being a bad rap then, but nobody was here then. So I don't know why like it's still a bad rap.
Obviously, there were some people here.
Yeah, and then they're spreading rumors everywhere because North Las Vegas is beautiful and it spans such a big area. And a lot of the new construction is out in North Las Vegas. It's a beautiful area out there.
I think
a lot for your money.
When people are like, no, not North Las Vegas. I'm like, why? Why? Who are you listening to? Somebody from the 1980s? You know?
Yeah. I think North Las Vegas is bigger than Reno now in terms of population.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It is. Yeah, North Las Vegas now has more people than Reno. That's how much it's grown.
I'm excited to do the video series I have coming up in the next few months. I'm really working closely with the city of North Las Vegas to get the right information. I want to make sure that it's accurate. And I'm taking a page out of Jacob's book because, you know, he's such a good researcher. Yeah. And it's been really cool to learn so many things. You know, being someone who's lived here since I was 9, I even had a kind of a misunderstanding of what they were doing out there, and it's beautiful to see what's going on. So yeah, I've got another question here from Christopher. Christopher, you're asking a lot of good questions today. Thank you so much for that. He's asking about thoughts on Cadence versus Inspirata in terms of community schools, restaurants. We noticed Inspirata new home prices are a little more expensive, and the HOA is more. Christopher, you're doing some good research. Feel free to reach out to me and to Amber. I'm happy to answer direct questions. Jacob, have you been out to Inspirata or Cadence lately?
Not in a while, but once they build that station casino in Inspirata, I'm going to have to be going there more often.
That's right. Amber, have you? I know that you're more of a West Side girly or Northwest Side girly.
But most of the time on like Halloween, I go because Inspirata is super cool how they have all of their community events. So on Halloween, I'll go out there and like pass candy out and stuff like that. I didn't this year, but last year I did. And it's really cool just seeing the community all come together with all the kids and the parks and and then everybody out there kind of working with it. So I mean, I think Inspirata is cool. I don't go out there a whole lot. I need to go travel to Cadence though. I keep hearing good things about Cadence, but I haven't, seen what it looks like.
We should do a field trip. I think the 3 of us should do a field trip and figure it out. But I spend a lot of time in Inspirata, in Cadence, as well as Lake Las Vegas and Tuscany, which is an area that almost nobody knows exists. It's right behind Cadence, in between Cadence and Lake Las Vegas. So my thoughts are Inspirata had a lot of good PR and a lot of good marketing when they first came back around after the crash and started building again. It is by far one of the most beautiful turnkey solutions for a community in Las Vegas / Henderson in this area that you can find. Prices reflect that, obviously. They are zoned for some of the better schools, better rated schools, I should say. They've got it's a full turnkey. It's walkable. It's almost like Pleasantville a little bit. Like you get into the community and you're like, okay, where are the Stepford wives? Like everyone is just, it's so clean, it's so pretty, it's so family oriented. There's kids on the streets riding their bikes. There's a little coffee shop in the middle. To your point, Halloween, it's like, oh my God, it's like a wonderland,
Yeah.
So it's amazing. Cadence, on the other hand, is very much equal in terms of like amenities, but they have taken a lot longer to come around because they're on the east side of Henderson. So we're talking West Henderson, Inspirata, East Henderson, Cadence. And Cadence, I think it's a gorgeous community. It's a very affordable entry level kind of start by your first house kind of thing. The problem that a lot of people have had, including myself for many years with Cadence, is that you have to drive through kind of an area that needs some love of Henderson before you get to this beautiful oasis of Cadence, which is right before you get to Lake Las Vegas. So I think that the in-between is what's turned a lot of people off, is that you're driving around going, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to be Henderson? And it's a little bit, we call it Hendertucky sometimes. It's like, that's the local term for it. They are doing some major money dump renovations into that area to make it far more amenity abundant and just more attractive visually. And so that's over the last 3 to 5 years really started to happen, which is making Cadence far more viable and giving Inspirata a little run for their money. So I love both of them. I actually I'm not trying to plug my channel, but I did do a few videos about this. Henderson Part 1 and 2 go into detail about the schools, about all the good stuff around each and every one of those areas. So please check those out, because there are some really good juicy information that can help you maybe make a decision. Also, a phone call to us would help too. So there's that. Okay, I'm just gonna move on. Are you seeing any other comments that you wanna? I wanted to see if you have the ability to push the button to make it go on the screen.
Nah, I tried to join the chat and like log in and connect, but it didn't. I went through the whole connect your account, but it didn't happen. I did see someone ask about buying from the UK. So there's probably a handful of international viewers who are looking to either buy to move here or to invest.
Good one. That's so funny. That's the one I was going to click on next. So, all right, Amber, what do you got? What do you think? Buying from the UK or anywhere foreign, non-USA resident?
So there's foreign national loans. And then, so the biggest thing you run into when you're buying from another country is the way that your pay works in the other country. So like if you're Canadian's a little bit easier because we could use like their tax returns and stuff are pretty close to what ours are. So we could use, there's Canadian programs just specifically for theirs. But if it's from like a different country like in Europe, and those, a lot of times using the DSCR loan is the best way to go. So that loan is for when you're buying the house to be an investment loan. You put a down payment on it, and the way that we're calculating your income is based off the rent that comes out of that house. So your payment basically has to match the rent or be less than or the payment has to be less than the rent. So those ones usually require a good amount down, between 20 and 30%. And then we just have to make sure that it matches it. So that's an easy one to do. And then when you're a foreign national, you don't have to show credit scores or anything like that, because obviously you don't have a social security number or anything like that. So, but definitely ways of doing those loans for, if you're from a different country.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people from Canada who have been calling about possibly moving from Canada back or down to the US. So yeah, there are a ton of loan programs. Thank you. Amber, while we're talking about loan programs, do you mind touching on free money programs? There's a lot of free money out there that a lot of people don't realize might be open to them or an option for them. And I know we do live streams a lot, but we don't always do them on this channel. So while we have this beautiful audience, why don't you talk about a couple of the programs that you're excited about, if you're cool with that?
Yeah, so a lot of the free money programs, so there's some programs that are out yearly, and then there's programs that come out at the beginning of the year that last until the money's gone. So as we approach the new year too, we're going to see a lot more. But one of my favorite ones that I've been using a lot lately, there's several different grant programs, but there's differences. Some of them are forgivable and some of them are non-forgivable. So there's one grant program I've been using a lot lately that is a forgivable after you've paid it for 3 years. It allows you to go up to higher incomes, which some of the grant programs, limit you on your incomes in what you can make. So like basically they're going to give you the grant if you make under a certain amount. One person was thinking, I was saying you don't have to make an income to get the grants. You definitely have to make an income to get the grants. They just limit, like you have to make under a certain amount to get certain ones. This one doesn't have a big income limit, and it goes down to a 600 FICO score. So because this is a forgivable grant where you pay on it for 3 years and then it's forgiven after that, that's why it's my favorite right now.
I love that. I've got a few that we've talked about in the past. I'm going to put them on the screen here. Do you mind if we talk about a few of these right here? Home as Possible, and I think I have a couple more.
Yeah, Home as Possible is a beautiful. So Home as Possible is a big one in town. So a lot of people will know about the Home as Possible program. You can be a first-time home buyer. This one, so for Home as Possible has many different grants. The one that we pulled the guidelines on, this one was for specifically first-time home buyer. You have to have a 640 FICO score. They do have debt to income ratio restrictions that are a little bit more strict than the one that I just spoke about. But these guys have a better interest rate than the other one. However, this grant is not forgivable. So when you take the grant out, if you sell or refinance in the future, then you pay it back. Keep in mind that you are getting equity as you move into the house. So sometimes we can weigh the options and what we think is going to happen. So you could take the lower rate or the little higher rate to be able to get it, forgiven. And then your income limits on this one are very specific on family size. So they have to fit under a certain amount to be able to get into the grant program. But a lot of people think that you have to put 20% down to get on the house. Most people don't put 20% down. I think because if you're from a place like California, that's where, I think that rumor happened at, because the prices of houses are so high. This way you do an FHA loan and then you attach a grant onto it to be able to, make it to where you can get in the house without any money. For down. And then if the seller pays your closing costs, then you can get in the house without any money.
One of the Facebook users is asking if you can apply for multiple grants.
Yeah, well, certain times. So a lot of, like, the Home as Possible one that we just looked at, they have rates attached to theirs. So that one you could just use with their program, right? But then there are other grants, like there's a $4,500 grant. They just ran out of money recently. But on that one, you can attach it to multiple different things. So you can stack the grants on some of the grants. So it depends on which grant you qualify for and how you can stack them. We should do a video about that one time, like stacking grants.
Stacking, we're going to make a sandwich grants cake is what we're going to do.
Yeah, like in the new year when all the grants start coming out, the ones that run out of money, that's when the stackable really happens in a fun way.
And this is Big Dog 35 asked a really good question too, because a lot of people don't have the concept of first-time home buyer maybe clear, and it's a good one. So he basically says he lived in California, purchased a house there. Would they be a first-time home buyer in Nevada? Can you talk about the qualifications to be a first-time home buyer?
So first-time home buyer means that you haven't owned a house in 3 years. So some people will call me and say, well, I bought my house 10 years ago, but I still own it. But so I'd be a first-time home buyer. You have to have sold it, not been a homeowner for 3 years. And then you're considered a first-time home buyer. And first-time home buyer just means that you're available to certain grant programs. And like FHA doesn't really decipher between first and non, but conventional, if you make under certain incomes, they have different programs that are beneficial to the rate on the first-time home buyer.
Good. Another really good question popped up. Donka said, I'm also an international buyer. Would you suggest setting up an LLC in the US and buying properties via the LLC?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can. So here's how that would work. There's specific programs, like you would do the DSCR loan program to be able to do that. That's the one that we're not showing any income. You're not showing a credit score because you're foreign national, so you don't have, Social Security. You still have to put your name down. So the loan's going to be in your name and the bill's going to be sent to your address, but you can close and have the title of the house in the LLC on these particular loan programs. So that's particularly the DSCR loan, not all investor loans, but I mean, most investor loans, you have to be able to pull credit and stuff like that to be able to do it, but you can close these types of loans in the name of the LLC.
Yeah. Awesome. See, this is why we keep this lady around. Not only is she beautiful, but she's freaking amazing. We've got just about 5-6 minutes left, guys. If you're cool, I'm just going to run through a few more questions. We're getting some really good ones coming in. Are you guys down for that? I didn't know if we had anything else we were supposed to cover. Okay, cool. We did touch on this earlier, but I figured it'd be good to say it one last time. AC Gutierrez is saying, what will the lowered Fed rates recently that happened do for our mortgage rates in Vegas? Did you mind for resale homes or just mortgage rates in general? Do you mind touching on that, Amber?
Well, we hope it'll do good stuff. So the 25 basis point rate cut that happened yesterday affects short-term rates. That's the Fed fund rate, what the rate that they give banks, right? So like car loans, credit cards, that as that rate's going down, that'll go down. but what their actions that they do affect our market. And then that's what affects our rates. So right when they did the same day that happened, when they lowered the rates, we did see our rates go down. Not every Fed meeting, like last Fed meeting, they cut it by 0.5%. And we saw our rates go up after that because it's more of what they say and what they do with their security holdings. So a lot of times I feel like they get their headline by saying, oh, rates cut 0.5% or 0.25% or whatever it is. But sometimes it's just simply that, a headline. But what's going to happen though, as they continue this trend of lowering rates every time they meet, then that'll show the markets that the inflation markets and stuff like that are softening, and that'll cause our rates to start going down. So as it continues, we hope to see our rates follow. I mean, they will follow that, but we hope to see it move faster and faster because I can't wait to get down to 5. What about you?
I'm frothing at the mouth already. Thank you, Amber.
When we can say 5 again, that was going to be a beautiful day.
What credit score do you need to have to be eligible as first-time home buyers? And before you answer, I just want to say, so many people get hung up on first-time home buyer programs. And I'm a first-time home buyer. Being a first-time home buyer is definitely great. And there's some cool programs and stuff we can use for you and tap into. But buying a house is period. It doesn't matter. Rates don't change if you're a first-time, credit requirements don't really change if you're a first-time home buyer. Am I right?
Yeah. So, to answer this question, it depends on what type of loan I'm doing. So if I'm doing an FHA loan, FHA's, and you're putting down 3.5%, then you can go down to a 580, but you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for that. You could use that even if you're not a first-time home buyer. Now, to get a first-time home buyer grant, the minimum grant is $600. Some of the grants are $640. It depends on which one you qualify for. But you can get a first-time home buyer grant at $600 on the FHA side. On the conventional side, there are grants that you can add to it, and there's some specialty programs for first-time home buyer that mostly require 3% down payment, and those ones are 620 or above FICO score. And
awesome.
Then
see,
VA.
It's all in your head. Look at this. You're amazing. I'm sorry.
She knows.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And then VA kind of works the same, first-time home buyer or not first-time home buyer. So they're so yeah, let's talk about first-time home buyer stuff though. I love it. When we can help people move from renting to buying. It's my favorite day when we can do that.
It's my favorite day too. Another question, what if I purchase a vacation home in Nevada? How would you do that? Or how would that work? Do I just put down 20%?
So on a vacation home, you can do as little as 10%. How they work the rates on vacation homes, though, it's considered vacation or second home is what it's called in the lending world. But how they work the rates the rates are similar to like an investment property. The benefit of it is you can use it as your second home. So but you're going to have a rate like an investment property. And a lot of times the rates are a little bit higher. So the amount of money that you come out with, like in points, might be a little different. So 10% is the minimum, but your points on the closing costs will be a little bit higher. If you get closer to 20%, then you'll reduce those points that you're paying on your closing costs. Did that make sense?
Yeah, girl, yes. I just could sit and listen to you all day. Thank you. Facebook user asked about my wife and I got married in August in Vegas. Congratulations. Loved it so much. We're thinking about moving. Do you have any advice for first-time renters in Vegas or getting employed when you work or live across the country? I talk to hundreds of people a month, and this is a very big question that we answer often. It's really important that you do line up work before you move to Vegas. A lot of people make the assumption that they can just move here and figure it out. But renting an apartment, renting a house, getting anything to be able to be rented, you have to have income or you have to be able to pay your rent for a year in advance or show that you have enough money to pay your rent a year in advance. So it really just makes it very difficult. Getting employed from across the country, that's something, it just depends on your industry, but definitely what I've recommended to people who are in the process of like not able to do that, or their industry doesn't really lend itself to being able to be employed with an offer letter well in advance to be able to move, is a little trick of the trade is there are a lot of Airbnbs in Las Vegas that do 30+ day rentals. So what I like to tell people is if you don't know what's going on and you need a little time on the ground here to get your stuff in order, you can do an Airbnb for a month or two and not have to sign a lease, not have to put out down, credit checks and all the stuff. You put your stuff in storage, you sign go and do an Airbnb for a month or two, get your ducks in a row. So that's a piece of advice that I would give to anybody who calls who's just not sure. To rent from afar and things like that, we help renters on our team. So please reach out if you're wanting to learn more about the area or about that process. It can be renting in Vegas is not for the faint of heart. Period. It's an uphill battle in the process of getting to find a house that you want, especially from afar. But we do a really good job for our clients. But the main thing that I wanted to say is you brought up about getting employed from when you're across the country. Either work in an industry that's going to be able to do that, or you can work remotely or do a few trips out here to do interviews and get yourself dialed in. But you do really need employment before you make the move. It will make your life so much easier and so much better. All right, guys, I am looking and I'm seeing a ton of really great questions here. Are you seeing anything that we should answer? Because we are just about to wrap this up. So I wanted to make sure before we do so. I think we're good. Lots of great questions. What about you, Jacob?
No, I don't know if my chat is keeping up. I just see Big Dog says he's buying here soon and getting out of California. So
let's go, Big Dog.
Congrats,
we hope
bro.
You call us. Call us and let us know how we can help. Seriously, guys. We are, the one thing that I love about you, Jacob, and you, Amber, is that, we all have the same collective mentality is we just want to put out good information. We want to be a good resource. And we really do care about making it accurate and making it right by you guys who are watching. So I just want to say thank you again to you, Jacob, for letting us speak to your audience. And, we love when we put your cute face on our feeds as well. So it's you're helping the algorithm a little bit. Thank you guys so much. Amber, as always, with your beautiful brain. Thank you. And I'll let you wrap it up.
You.
Yeah, I'll let you wrap it up for us.
Wait, you let me wrap it up or Jacob?
I think Amber
or Jacob. Amber, you got to wrap it up. What do we say, Amber?
She's the pretty one.
Oh, geez.
That's right.
You got the rocking the red hair.
Don't get me started on this, girl. Amber, what do we always say at the end of all of our streams?
Well, genuinely, we don't care if you're buying today, tomorrow, or 10 years from now. We just want to help you with a game plan. So give us a call so we can get you started on that game plan and move to our beautiful neon town of Las Vegas. Did I say it well, Laci?
I think I'm rubbing off on you a little bit. This is so weird. Thank you again, Jacob, so much. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.